New York. I've called Brownsville Houses my home for over 30 years. I raised my daughters and my son and successfully beat the odds of what our community is supposed to look like by having 2 graduates of college. I serve as the Vice President of the 73rd Precinct Community Council, and I'm the Community Relations Manager at Good Shepherd's Services in Brooklyn. Most New Yorkers walk past the precinct and think, I never need to step inside of them. And then something unexpected happens. You witness a crime, or you yourself are a victim of a crime and need to file a report. You may be called for someone who depends on you, who might need you to come pick them up from the precinct. You learn that a family member is in trouble and you need to help. It can happen to anyone. It happened to me. It happened to me needing to go into the precinct over an issue that happened with one of my children. I remember walking into the 73rd Precinct to report this issue, and I was already nervous about reporting this experience. As I walked into a small, cramped space, it made the situation even more uncomfortable. There were 2 stiff chairs. Most other people were standing in the waiting area. There was no privacy. It was so tight that everyone else around could hear the conversations as people reported incident to the officers. I have to be honest, this was not a good experience for me. I left that precinct hoping to never have to come back. But the activist in me said, I don't walk away from opportunities to make an experience in my community better. Soon after this, I joined the 73rd Precinct Community Council because I heard that that was where voices was heard, and that's where we can make a change as community members. We want the people to feel safe and protected. We want everyone to be treated with respect that they deserve. My community council gave input to what we wanted to see in the redesigning of the community space to change the experience individuals have interacting with the police department. I'm excited that this change is coming, especially to the 73rd Precinct, what we call the People's Precinct. We have to work every day to bring police community closer together. This step really means something to parents, family, and our community. And we're definitely looking forward to having this change come about. Please join me in welcoming our mayor, Bill Deblasio, to this podium.
Well done. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Digna, thank you very, very much for not just what you said, but everything you have done. And I love what you said about seeing an opportunity to make things better and not passing it by. I really admire that, and I really appreciate that about you. And I hope you feel satisfaction today that what you did and what everyone here is doing is making a real big difference. Let's thank Digna for everything she does. And I want to say, a lot of old friends here, a lot of people that I have had the honor of working with over many years. And this community is, I think, such a powerful, important community in our whole borough and our whole city, because the people behind me were doing important work, not just this year, but for years and years before, to bring the whole community together and to bring police and community together. This is one of the neighborhoods where we see some of the most powerful work by community members to improve people's lives and to improve the relationship between police and community. And I've watched this community closely for years, and it hasn't always been easy to do this work, but this group of leaders here has persevered. and this is a stronger, better community today because of it. So I'd like to ask everyone, give some applause to your neighbor. Everyone here has done good work. I want to note something because I was at a meeting yesterday that was very moving to me with members of the crisis management system, also known as the Cure Violence Movement. And folks are working at the grassroots in neighborhoods now all over the 5 boroughs with a lot of support from the city to stop violence before it happens and to stop any incident from turning into something worse. They do extraordinary work, essential work, and they're part of the reason that crime has continued to go down and our streets are safer. And I think we have folks from SOS Crown Heights. Are you here with us today? SOS Crown Heights. Let's give them a round of applause. And also want to say that the folks who work here from the NYPD, the uniformed officers, but also the civilian employees, do an outstanding job and also have built that bond with the community. And what we're announcing today is important, not just for the folks who come in from the community, but also for the folks who do this crucial work to have a better space to work in and to have a better connection to the community. So I want to thank Inspector Frank Giordano for his leadership and appreciate it. So here's the idea. It's very simple, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due when we bring up Eric Adams and Aliko Samuel, who are going to speak about their vision and how it's coming to fruition here, and we're honored to support it. But the bigger vision of this administration has been to heal the wounds of the past, not let them continue to plague us. And we knew from the beginning we could bring police and community closer together. It just needed a new approach, and it needed focus, and it needed energy, and that's what neighborhood policing has been. And it's working more every day. It deepens every day. I want to emphasize, because at every moment we see things that really grab our attention and make us feel something. And like so many New Yorkers, I've been very, very troubled by some of the videos I've seen recently. And it's only a very few people out of a city of 8.6 million people, but it's not acceptable to show disrespect to our officers. And the folks who do that, they're not helping us move forward. They're not helping us heal the wounds of the past. They're not helping to create a safer community. The folks that show disrespect to our officers are hurting all of us, and they should not be accepted or tolerated. They need to hear from all of us that it's unacceptable. Because so many good people here around me have spent a lifetime trying to change and improve their communities and change the relationship between police and community, and we are not going to let a few people with the wrong ideas stop the progress we have made. So today, I think, in fact, speaks about the exact opposite, how we're going to create the kinds of facilities that really foster dialogue and respect. That's what the city needs. And it is part of keeping us the safest big city in America and making us safer, because I'll tell you, I've heard it from so many officers. When they have that kind of respectful relationship with community members, when it's two-way street, when people know each other by first name, when they share information, people get safer. But I want to pick up on Digna's point. The buildings themselves haven't helped because you don't want to go in. You don't have a good experience. It's not that the folks inside aren't trying their best. It's that they weren't built to look welcoming and to feel like a place where someone can come and deal with a very difficult moment, like Digna explained. You know, deal with that moment the right way. We're trying to create a reality in every precinct that community members and police feel that they are on the same side, they're on the same team. And we want the precinct to be the home ballpark where everyone can gather and feel comfortable and feel like they're on the same mission together. So this plan we're announcing today will provide a makeover to 4 Brooklyn precincts here at the 7-1, also the 7-3, 7-5, and 7-7. The whole look's going to be different. It's going to be updated, new furniture, new paint jobs, ATM machines, a whole host of things that's going to make it a positive, welcoming environment. We're going to get to work on this right away, and it will be done soon. And it's going to change how people interact with the police. We're all human beings. If we go into someplace and we feel welcome, we feel comfortable, it's going to change everything else that happens there. That's what neighborhood policing is all about. And I want you to hear now from one of the people we depend on to put this idea into action every day. He is one of the architects of neighborhood policing. And in his role now as chief of patrol, he has seen all over this city the good that a growing bond between police and community can achieve, and he knows how this is an important part of it. My pleasure to introduce Chief of Patrol Rodney Harrison.
So good afternoon. So, believe it or not, I actually had the pleasure of working here in the 71 Precinct back in 1997, as well as the other, thank you, as well as the other precincts that are benefiting from this reconstruction. I worked as a sergeant in the 7-3, and I was part of the narcotics modules in the 7-5 and the 7-7. So Brooklyn is my home away from home. And if you just take a look at the crime that we had to deal with back in 1997, it was a tough time. I remember coming into work, signing in, and maybe a short time afterwards, we were headed out having to deal with some type of crime that kind of plagued this beautiful community. And if I could just read off a couple of numbers. From 1997 compared to now, the 7-1 precinct is down 65% in crime. If you just take a look at the 7-3, 7-5, and 7-7, those three commands are down over 70% in shooting incidents. That is not by accident. That is great work done by the men and women that put this uniform on today, as well as the responsibility that we've taken advantage of working with such a great community here in Brooklyn. And that's from neighborhood policing. And that's what it's all about. Shared responsibility, working together to make sure we make it a safe environment for everybody here. But we didn't just stop there, just doing neighborhood policing. We didn't just say, hey, crime is down. What's next? What do we do? So now we want to try to open up our homes, open up our precincts, and make it a lot more attractive for people to want to come in and talk to us, engage us, make it friendlier for the residents here, because we still have a lot of work to do. We've done a great job, and you just take a look at New York City compared to all the other major cities throughout the country. We're one of the best, if not the best. But we did not rest, and we're going to continue to work hard to continue to build those relationships. And it starts with taking a look at ourselves. What can we do to make things better? And making sure that people want to come work with us, want to come into the precinct and talk to us, as well as the cops being in an environment where it's a lot more comfortable for them as well. And it starts with this idea of making the precincts better for everybody that lives and works here in Brooklyn. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Borough President Eric Adams. I want to thank Councilmember Avery Samuel for the great work and their investment into this idea and putting it forward. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for all the great work that you do supporting this police department. And I look forward to continuing to build on neighborhood policing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So as I turn to the borough president, I want to say this is someone who really knows what he is talking about, and he passionately pursued this initiative and wanted it to be an important part of what we did here in City Hall in your borough for Brooklyn, because this is not only about these 4 precincts. This is something I think is going to spread from there and really change the relationship between police and community and precincts all over the city. But it's like so many great things starting in Brooklyn, and then the rest of the world will catch up. Now, Borough President, when you started out as a police officer, I have to editorialize and say, I assume you had a few more pounds on you before your miracle diet. Maybe you had some hair?
Yes.
Okay, he had hair. He was a whole different man. But what's not different is that he believes in changing people's lives. And he did it, starting out as an officer, rising up to the rank of captain. And then he did it as a state senator, now as borough president. And there is a wonderful, restless desire to make positive change, and particularly to bring police and community together. So, borough president, I got to tell you, you should be very proud today. Your vision is coming to fruition here, and it's going to be something wonderful for this community. Borough President Eric Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. And I believe that Chief Harrison really personified the thoughts of many of us who started policing during those turbulent years. And to reach a moment like this where we're going to change the precinct environment, not only to be more welcoming for those who enter, but also for the law enforcement officers who are here providing a much needed service. And we cannot thank our partners behind us enough. They have toiled in the field of really harvesting the crop of peace between police and people. We're reaching a moment where we're getting closer and closer to that. The joy here is that this administration, the mayor, is part of an administration where good ideas do not die. And historically, when ideas come from the bottom, to share what makes sense, they have often just died on the planning stage. But there's been a real desire during this administration that we look at good ideas and allow them not only to live, but to allow them to flourish. And having a partner like the councilwoman to really help us move this conversation forward. I'll never forget several years ago entering the precinct during the evening time when I was on midnight, and everyone behind the desk greeted me and said, "Hello, Captain, how are you?" And then later that day, I had to enter that same precinct, and I communicated to the officer on the desk and asked him instructions, and he wouldn't even speak. He just pointed, and it's a signal to me to go over there. And that is the type of customer service that does not say welcome, it says you are unwelcome. And it is the basic common decency of communicating with people, of actually opening your mouth and saying something that can send a signal that you are welcome here. Everyone that enters a precinct is not a bad guy, and they should not be treated as a bad guy. Everyone who comes inside, they're people, not perpetrators. They are about enjoying having a police precinct on a block. Nothing could send a stronger signal is that people can walk by here with their children and feel as though this is a safe haven. If they feel intimidated or afraid, they can come inside the precinct and talk to human beings and an individual. And it shouldn't matter if a person is entering the precinct wearing a blue uniform of the police department or blue jeans or blue suit. We should be consistent in how we treat individuals. So now, with this new idea, this new concept, and really it is a remarkable concept that I think is going to be born in Brooklyn, but is going to cascade throughout the entire city and country, where we're going to finally understand that these buildings are representatives of our symbols of authority, symbols of peace, and symbols of nonviolence. To accomplish this task is the missing piece. We've done a great job of bringing down crime. We've heard the number from the chief. We've become the safest big city in America, if not globally. We've done an excellent job of going from the years of 2,000 homicides down to 398,000 robberies, down to a smaller percentage of that. We've done it across the entire spectrum. Where we have historically failed is to tear down that wall that separate the good people of this city with the good police officers that protect the city. That wall is coming down today. It's coming down today. And when people walk in and sitting on a couch or chair or share a moment with their local officer, part of the neighborhood policing officer program, when they make a withdrawal from the ATM, they're making a deposit into the safety of their city. It is the combination of having an environment where everyday people can see the extension of their police as part of the public safety plan. Folks like SOS, Cure Violence, Hanina Sperlin, Devora Habistan, Block Association presidents and community groups, Mr. Edwards, and countless number of others are now having this new addition to their arsenal of protecting our community. This is a great moment, and it's not an insignificant moment taking place on the stage of law enforcement history. It's a defining moment that we are going to actually change the mindset of policing, not only to be reactive to crime, but the extension of our proactive atmosphere of making people happy to be around their police and their police happy to be around their people. We have destroyed the saying of us against them, and we've created a new saying that we are them. We're one community, one focus, one goal, and that's to ensure that we raise healthy children and families in a safe environment, and now our precincts are part of them. And we are proud to be part of this. When it was brought to my attention, the dollar amount that it would take to do one build out, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million so we can build out even more. It can't be just one precinct. It needs to be every precinct in this city. So we thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing dreams to grow and to flourish and to give the opportunity to start a new pathway with community and police, changing the definition of community policing to include the input from the community. This is a great moment for Brooklyn. This is a great moment for the city. More than a tree grows in Brooklyn, new relationships are growing in Brooklyn with our police and our public. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Also putting her money where her mouth is, and a believer in the impact that this approach can make. As a council member, she is new, but she has done tremendous work for years and years for the economy, for the community. She's new as a council member, but not new as an activist and not new as a change agent. And I want to congratulate you because you're also one of the driving forces that brought us to this day. Councilmember Alika Ampry Samuel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So when I first heard about this concept of a community space or a community kiosk or a community room or a community center within the precinct, this was a couple of years ago. And I said, that's a no-brainer. It makes sense, right? Because you see all of the great work and development and how our communities are changing every single day. And you see new street plazas coming up, and there's always a conversation about what can we do better to make New Yorkers feel better and to make New York look better. And so when I saw the initial renderings of this concept, I said, okay, well, this needs to be funded. And a couple of days after I was elected, I met with our borough president, and we had a conversation in the elevator. And I remember the borough president saying, remember when, I'm not going to name names, but remember when there was this idea of making our precincts more open to the community? I want to put money in that initiative. And we talked about a few other initiatives, and he said, well, I'm going to do it, and if you put money towards it, we can actually put our money together so that we can enhance this idea. And so when the opportunity to go through the budget allocations came out, that was the first thing I mentioned. It was the first thing I put on my budget items, was to allocate $250,000 to the precinct within my district. And so I was proud of that moment, and I was proud when I found out that the borough president did allocate the $1 million so that there can now be $1.25 million for the community. And I'm also proud of the fact that it's not just the 73rd precinct, but it's also right here where we're standing at the 7-1, right? And coming into office, and I talked about this inside, we've had some challenges over the past couple of months right here within the 71st Precinct District. We've had some serious community and police challenges. And the conversation is always around, well, what's the precinct council doing, and what's the clergy council doing, and what are the elected officials doing? And this is proof that the community has been in conversation, and we're talking and we're working together, and we're also making things happen to make sure that the relationships between the community and the police are healthy relationships, are positive relationships. We heard Digna give her experiences of going into the 73rd precinct, and that shouldn't be. But now we have to focus on what can we do every single day to make Brooklyn, to make New York City a better place for all New Yorkers. So let me just read my notes right here. So I'm Councilwoman Alika Samuel, and I represent the 41st District. But my district includes Brownsville, Ocean Hill, parts of Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, and East Flatbush. And I'm very proud to be supportive of my 5 local precincts, the 71st, the 73rd, the 77th, the 67th, and the 81st, as well as PSA 2 and PSA 3. And another piece about allocating funds, I spoke with the precinct council, precinct community council with the 7-7, and they had this amazing initiative about workforce development and therapeutic services, and finding a way to be able to provide programs and resources in the vestibules of our precincts. And they had no idea that we were going to have this press conference. And so what would it look like for our precinct community councils and our clergy councils to have designated space within our precincts that is opening and welcoming and vibrant and colorful, in a space where people would just go and say, oh, I'm not talking to a police officer today. I came for information that I can give to my son, right? What would that look like? And so today is the start of that conversation. So I look forward to working with the precinct councils, the clergy councils, the residents of all 4 precincts, that this initiative will take place and be implemented in, and really coming up with a community design for each precinct that makes sense. So this is what makes me smile when I go home at night, and I look forward to increasing that funding across the city and encouraging my colleagues in the council to do the same. So thank you for the opportunity, and let's get to work.
Amen. Well done. Finally, I think he represents just right across the street, basically, right? So he couldn't be more local than that, Councilman. Councilman Matthew Eugene, we had met long ago, and we met because he was very actively involved in helping young people and giving them positive options and recreation opportunities. And I accent that because one of the things we most want to do in neighborhood policing is build a bond between our officers and our young people. We want our young people to get to know officers in the community, to understand how important their work is, to aspire to be police officers themselves one day, like a young man once did not far from here. And so as I call forward a councilman, I think he can also help us understand how this kind of welcoming facility sends a powerful message to the young people that we want to draw closer to our police. Council member Matthew Eugene.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be here and to join the mayor, the board president, and my colleagues from the city council, council member Samuel, for this remarkable moment. This is a wonderful thing that is happening for Brooklyn. And this is a great day for Brooklyn, a great day for the police department, and also for our communities. One of the things that we talk about all the time, we're talking about the security of the community, the safety of the community. But the safety of the community, I say that all the time, is not only about the police department, it is about all of us. All of us, the police officers, we elected officials, and also everybody who is living in New York City. And I want to take the opportunity also to commend the mayor for his leadership, for everything that he's doing every single day to make Brooklyn. I'm sorry about that. I turned it off before. I'm sorry.
It's quite a ringtone you got.
Yeah. And could you turn it off for me? Everything that he's doing every single day to make New York City a better place for all of us. I'm talking about affordable housing, police department, you name it. I want also to commend the board president and my colleague, Samuel, for working together to make this dream, this idea come to reality. I have to admit that I was not part of it at the very beginning, but I want to follow your step, and I pledge to join you to bring more funding also for this wonderful program. With respect to what this investment is going to be, the investment is not only an investment for the police department, it is also a very important investment in our community. This investment is going to make a big change in the community. When we talk about the young people, there's a perception that the police officers, they're after us, they're our enemies. But when we do everything to let them understand that no, they are there to serve us, to protect us every single day. We can go to them, and when they come to the precinct and see the new face of the precinct, that will make them more comfortable. And as the board president said, many times people come to the precinct because they need some information. They need a report. They need to do something other than, being bad. I think that when they come over here and they see the precinct is suitable, is friendly, I'm convinced that they will have another perception, another idea of our police department. And I want also to take the opportunity to thank all the community leaders I see here, the members of the community also. That's really what we need, all of us together, from all ethnic background, regardless of what we are doing, working together for the better relationship between the police department and the community. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I just want to conclude with real appreciation, again, for all the folks here who have done such important work in this community. This is a special place. And one thing I've always loved about Brooklyn, long before the do-it-yourself movement became popular, Brooklyn was a do-it-yourself place. And when there was a problem, people didn't wait for someone from outside to fix it. They got together. And when I hear the words Crown Heights, I think of these leaders who took a situation that once was so strained and created a place of unity and understanding. That is what Brooklyn epitomizes to me, and this neighborhood in particular. And if that could be done, it should remind us that everything else can be done. That this is another step in that same direction. Peace and understanding and mutual respect. It's happening every day in this city and in this borough, and we have only just begun. So congratulations to all, and thank you for all you are doing. Well done, everyone.